Our top story this morning, Michael Gove, is to announce the government's revised definition of what it considers to be extremism in a bid to catch groups who, according to initial proposals, undermine the UK system of liberal democracy.
It's a really difficult subject. Critics fear the new definition will be so broad that it risks being divisive, creating tensions and even being legally challenged.
Well, joining us now is protest lawyer Raj Chada. Raj, good morning. How valid are these concerns that the revised definition will actually threaten people's right to protest?
Good morning. I think they are very valid. It's a pretty broad definition, and it could, encompass a range of speech, a range of activity, which could include perhaps some members of the Tory party at the minute in terms of their views about the European Convention on Human Rights, for example. Is that undermining liberal democracy? Those are all examples which the government will need to face.
Raj, welcome to the show. Thanks for coming on. The problem with this is it's such a delicate subject. I suspect it's most definitely a debate we should have. I understand there are people who genuinely want to march. I understand that is absolutely our right as a democratic country, and I would stand full square. The concern is that whatever side of whatever argument you're on, increasingly in this country, my friend, we see fanatics, we see extremists hijacking what can be innocent marches or innocent causes or whatever, and that has coloured, I suspect, people's view. Would that be fair? And this is an attempt. I'm not in any way defending it. It's a bit wishy-washy to me, but I do think it's a debate we should be having.
Of course it's a debate. We don't want to live in a society that is dominated by extremism. But equally, there can be nothing more un-British than a British government dictating to us what we can and cannot hear or can and cannot support. And I think the dangers of what you're saying, Jeremy, is exemplified by the captions that you use to introduce this item, which is about a Palestine march with placards which say "Free Palestine, Palestine Solidarity Campaign." Those are many legitimate individuals and marches who are protesting about what they see as a genocide.
I would absolutely agree with you, as I just said to you, but you made a point, and I'll pick you up, and not pick up. You said, we do not want to live, you absolutely hit the nail. We do not want to live in a country where extremism or fanaticism is allowed. There is a line between the people who are peacefully marching and the people who hijack. So I'll throw it at you. What would you do about the extremists and the fanatics that will allow the genuine, concerned and innocent people to have free speech and march? How do we stop those innocent people's marches being hijacked? Because they are being.
There is a plethora of current criminal offences which can be used by the authorities should individuals overstep the mark. Those range from public order offences to even terrorism offences. And indeed, I've been involved in some of those cases. I would dispute your characterisation that lots of times that there have been overstepping of the mark. I think by and large, these have been peaceful marches, and by and large, those that attend have not overstepped the mark. But if they do,
we see and what we hear what we see and hear is not happening, you're saying, because I've made the point repeatedly that people will march and they have a right to, and many are peaceful. But you are saying that some of what we've seen is not happening, because it is.
Well, what I'm saying is it's a minority, and where there have been prosecutions. So
I'm not so sure about that.
What I'm trying to understand is what the government's rationale is.
Yeah, get that.
Or introducing a broader definition where I don't think it's going to tackle what we all want, which is a society which lives up to this idea of a liberal democracy.
Absolutely.
Where views can be exchanged.
We agree.
But you cannot do that by clamping down and inhibiting speech. That seems to me to be the wrong attitude. In fact, it's the polar opposite of what a liberal democracy should be about.
And Raj, how does this new definition compare to a previous one, and how will it affect protests? As far as I could understand from the announcement this morning, this was far more to do with who the government can fund rather than what's allowed to be said on a protest.
That's absolutely right. It doesn't affect the criminal law at the minute, but I'm not sure the government are funding Palestine Solidarity campaign. So again, you question why this is being done. This is being done in part of a culture war so that the government could say we're taking some action. And it may, though, be the start of a slippery slope which affects the criminal law in due course.
Because this is what confused me as well. If this new guidance is essentially just guidance for the government to police themselves and who they decide to give money to. So if they've expanded this definition of who they can and can't actually give money to, because that's what this is what the definition, sorry, not legislation, this is what the definition encompasses. As you said, why would they already be funding groups that could now potentially be deemed to be extremist?
And the classic example is your other main story, which is a Tory donor that makes racist remarks. That seems to me to be the type of remark that this government would not like under this definition. It's intolerant. It's undermining people's rights. So does it apply to the Tory party?
It's very interesting.
It is very interesting. Listen, I said it at the beginning of the show. I think it's something that needs to be debated. I hope
Absolutely.
that a solution can be found because, of course, we live in a society where free speech is the very epicenter of what we believe in. But I would disagree with you on a couple of things. I do think there is a need to deal with people who hijack innocent protests.
But this is the criticism of this new guidance.
Oh, I'm not sticking up for the guidance at all.
It encompasses a more broader definition of what an extremist is, but it doesn't say how to deal with extremism.
And it's interesting
There's no new changes.
It's interesting what Raj said. There are existing laws. Then we get to the whole debate about whether the police are enforcing those and should be doing more. Listen, Raj, thank you so much indeed for being on.